因为如果是的话，
then people who have lost a loved one to suicide
就那些自杀的人的家人
will be healed when they realize there was nothing they could have done to prevent the suicide.
就可以知道说，其实他们当时是没有办法做任何事情来防止对方自杀，然后得到疗愈。
And listen to Jesus' response.
那你可以听耶稣的回答。
Quote,
他说
all suicides preventable by outside forces were indeed prevented.
所有可以被外在的力量所避免的自杀，其实都已经被避免了。
I'll read it again.
我会再读一次。
All suicides preventable by outside forces were indeed prevented.
所有可以被外在力量所避免的自杀，其实都已经被避免了。
Now think about what this means.
那它是什么意思呢？
If you have lost someone you love to suicide,
如果你因为自杀而失去你所爱的人，
it means there was literally nothing you could have done,
那就表示当时其实你没有办法做任何的事情，
because they had no openness or willingness to change their mind.
因为他们并没有意愿要改变他们的想法。
If there had been an openness to changing their mind,
如果他们对于改变有一丝丝的开放性，
something would have happened.
就会有某件事发生。
Maybe a bird would fly by and distract them.
也许一只鸟飞过，然后转移他的注意力，
Or as Jerry says, maybe somebody would smile or say a kind word.
或是像 Jerry 说的，也许有人对他微笑，或是跟他讲一句好话。
But the universe is so finely tuned
因为宇宙是非常的精准的，
that the universe knows whenever anyone is suicidal
宇宙知道当一个人要自杀的时候，
and stages an intervention.
他可以去介入。
If the person has the slightest openness or willingness to change their mind.
如果那位自杀者他愿意有一丝丝的可能性去改变，
So for those of you who know someone who lost a loved one to suicide,
所以如果你们认识有人他是因为自杀而失去他爱的人，
please share this information with them,
请你跟他分享这个资讯，
because I feel this is one of the most healing pieces of information I've come across in all the years I've been doing this work.
因为我觉得这是我这么多年在研究出生前计划里所碰到的最疗愈人心的一个资讯。
So that's a little bit from the suicide chapter.
所以这是关于自杀这一章。
Let me now make some concluding comments and then I'll take questions.
那让我现在下一个结论，然后我们可以开放问答。
One of the primary intentions of my work
我为什么会做这个工作的一个主要的意图，
is to bring about a shift
是带来一种转变，
from what you could call personality body consciousness to soul consciousness.
就是什么样的转变呢？就是从人格或是身体的意识转变到灵魂的意识。
In other words, I think we live in a time in which
也就是说，我觉得我们现在身处的时代，
the average person is heavily or maybe completely identified with their body and their personality.
就是一般人呢，他完全是跟他的身体或是人格认同。
In other words, most people believe that they are the body, they are the personality.
就是说，他觉得他就是他的身体，他就是他的人格。
But the personality and the body are things you have, things you carry.
但是人格跟身体是你所拥有的，或是你所带着的东西。
The main idea here is that just because you have something, that doesn't mean you are the thing you have.
那我的意思是说，不是因为你拥有它，你就等同于它。
For example, if you have a horse,
比如说，如果你有一匹马，
that doesn't mean you are a horse.
那不代表你就是马。
And by the same token,
同样的，
just because you have a body and a personality,
就因为你有一个身体跟一个人格，
that doesn't mean that you are the body or the personality.
不代表你就是那个身体或是那个人格。
These are things you have, things you carry.
这些是你所拥有或是你所带着的。
So when you start to realize that you are an eternal being,
所以当你了解到你是一个永恒的生命，
the eternal being who planned your life,
一个永恒的生命，而且计划它的出生，
then you shift from being identified with the body and the personality
那你就不再那么的认同你的身体跟你的人格，
to being identified with the soul.
而你会更认同你的灵魂。
you start to understand that you are a holy, eternal, courageous soul.
你就会看到你是一个神圣的、永恒的、勇敢的灵魂。
Now, sometimes when I say this to people,
有时候当我这样子说的时候，
they say, how can I think of myself as courageous?
他说：“我怎么能够认为我自己是勇敢的呢？
There's so much fear in my life.
我生命中有那么多的恐惧，
I'm afraid of so many things.
我害怕好多东西。”
The answer to this very good question
那这个很好的问题的答案是，
is that each and every one of you
你们每一个人
knew before you were born
在你们出生之前都知道，
that fear was going to be a big part of the package.
恐惧会是这个包袱里面的一个很大的部分。
There was no way you could not have known this.
你不可能不知道这一点。
I would submit to you that only the courageous plan fear.
那我会对你说，只有勇敢的人，他才会计划出恐惧。
Let me say this again because this is very important.
但我再说一次，因为它非常的重要。
Only the courageous plan fear.
只有勇敢的人，勇敢的生命，他才会计划出恐惧。
So when you have those moments of wondering what your life is all about,
所以，当你有时候如果怀疑你的生命的意义，
when you have those moments of low self-esteem,
如果你感觉到自尊心非常的低落，
maybe you even have moments of wishing you could go home to the other side.
甚至如果有时候你觉得你想回家了，到另外一边，
When you have these moments,
当你有这样子的时刻的时候，
look into a mirror,
你可以去到镜子前面
look into your own eyes,
来看你自己的眼睛，
and remind yourself of who you really are.
然后提醒你自己到底是谁，
Say to yourself,
跟你自己说，
I am a holy, eternal, courageous soul.
我是一个神圣、永恒、勇敢的灵魂，
I am the courageous soul
我是勇敢的灵魂，
who bravely left a realm of love and light
我是一个离开了爱与光的世界的勇敢的灵魂，
and peace and joy
离开了那个爱与光还有平静跟喜悦的世界，
in order to experience great life challenges
而来到这里体验伟大的人生挑战，
so that I could balance karma,
所以我可以平衡业力、
heal,
疗愈、
be of service to others,
服务他人、
experience contrast,
体验对比，
and correct false beliefs.
还有导正错误的信念。
Because in my view,
因为在我的观点里，
this is who each and every one of you really and truly is.
这是你们每一个人真正的身份，
So that's my story,
所以这是我的故事，
and I'm sticking to it.
而且我
Thank you.
坚持这个故事。谢谢。
So questions?
有人有问题的吗？
不用你大声讲，顺着跟讲就好了。我想问就是说，对，你可以大声吗？
我想问，如果说我们是不是看完书之后，会不会对我们就是了解这个生命契约这个就是来出生之前的这个计划，可以快速的帮我们去圆满这些计划吗？
The books themselves do not tell you what your life plan is.
那书本身并不会告诉你的出生前计划是什么。
So let me explain now a few ways how you can gain insight into your life plan.
那我现在讲一些方法，是你怎么样可以去试着了解你的出生前计划是什么。
One thing you can do
你可以做的一件事是，
is to work with mediums and channels who can access this type of information.
就是跟可以去碰触这些资讯的灵媒或是通灵者一起工作。
That's the methodology I use to research the books.
那这就是我写书的这个用的方法。
Another thing you can do
还有另外一件事，
is hypnotherapeutic regression.
去做这个回溯的治疗。
And in particular, you can do what is called a between-life soul regression.
那你可以做这个就是一世跟一世中间的回溯。
And it just so happens that I will be leading a group between-life soul regression here tomorrow.
那其实呢，当然就是明天在这里就有这个，我们在工作坊里会做回溯的治疗，回溯的这个也会带学员做这个回溯。
From 1 p.m. to 6 p.m.
明天的工作坊是下午1点到6点。
Let me explain what happens in a between-life regression.
那什么叫做一世跟一世之间的回溯？
There's a very long hypnotic induction.
就是它就会有一个很长，前面是一个很长的催眠的铺陈。
Part of it is like a guided meditation.
其实它就像一个引导的静心。
Part of it is memory exercises.
一部分是引导式的静心，一部分是一种记忆的训练。
And then we do an abbreviated past life regression.
然后我们会做一个比较简短的前世回溯。
The sole purpose of which is to get you to the death scene in the past life.
那灵魂的目的呢，就是要让你回到那一世你死亡的那一刻。
Then you leave the body in the past life and you transition to the other side.
然后你离开你的身体，然后你到另外一边。
When you get to the other side, a number of amazing things can happen.
当你到另外一边的时候呢，有几件很棒的事情可能发生。
Most people are greeted by one of their spirit guides.
多数的人会遇到他们的一位指导灵的一位。
Some of those people will have very long conversations with their guide.
有些人呢会跟他的指导灵有很长的对话。
And as part of that conversation, you can ask your guide what your life plan is.
所以在对话中，你就可以问你的指导灵，你的出生前计划是什么。
Now, sometimes all the guide does is greet the person when they cross over.
那有时候呢，指导灵只是在那边去迎接这个人死去。
And then the guide escorts the person to what is called the Council of Elders.
然后这位指导灵呢，把这个灵魂呢带到我们称呼之为这个长老的这个集会，长老的这个集会前面。
The Council of Elders are the very wise, loving, and highly evolved beings who oversee the cycle of reincarnation on Earth.
你可以称他们为长老指导，他们是非常有智慧跟慈悲心的这个高灵，他们在监督地球上的所有的转世的工作。
And if you get in front of the Council of Elders, this can be a life-changing experience.
那如果你被带到长老的面前，它可以是改变你一生的体验。
Because the Council knows everything about you and can answer any question you have.
因为长老们知道你所有的一切，而且可以回答你的任何的问题，
including questions about your pre-birth plan.
包括关于出生前计划的问题。
Now, some people, when they cross over, they have a reunion with the other members of their soul group.
那有时候，当一个人死去的时候，他会碰到他的灵魂家族的成员。
And this is a very beautiful and loving and joyful thing.
那这是一个非常充满爱跟喜悦的一件事。
Because you recognize them and they recognize you.
因为你会认出他们，他们也认出你。
And so it's like a reunion with loved ones who you haven't seen in many, many years.
所以就像是重见到好多年不见的老友。
So this is the second thing you can do to learn about your life plan is to do a between lives regression.
所以这是第二个你可以做的事，就是去做一个一世跟一世之间的回溯。
Another thing you can do.
还有另外你可以用的方法。
And you can use this technique to gain an answer to almost any question.
你可以用这个方法来得到几乎所有任何问题的答案。
Is before you go to bed at night, speak out loud to your soul.
就是当你晚上睡觉前，大声的跟你的灵魂说话。
And ask your soul a question.
然后问你的灵魂一个问题。
In your case, the question might be, what is my life plan?
比如说，你可能问说，那我的出生前计划是什么？
And then ask your soul to send you a dream that contains an answer to your question.
然后请你的灵魂让你做一场梦，在这个梦里有这个解答。
Also ask, and this is very important, to be awakened when the dream ends.
那还有重要的一点就是要请他在你做梦结束的时候叫醒你，
because otherwise you won't remember it.
否则的话你会忘记。
Keep pen and paper next to the bed so that you can write it down immediately.
然后床旁边要放纸跟笔，所以你可以马上写下来。
Some people find that they can't write fast enough before they forget the dream.
那有些人发现他写字的速度不够快，就是写字比他这个忘记的速度要慢。
If you have that experience,
如果你有这样的体验，
then keep a tape recorder next to the bed
那你可以放一个录音笔，
because you can talk faster than you can write.
因为你可以说话讲的比写的要快。
You can use this technique to get an answer to almost any question.
你可以用这个方法来得到几乎所有问题的答案。
I myself have used it.
我自己有用过，
I know people who have used it.
我也认识有人用过。
And it very often works.
通常它是有效的，
But it doesn't always work.
不是说每次都有效。
If you try it and you find that it doesn't work for you,
如果你觉得你试了可是不成功，
keep trying as long as you don't get frustrated.
你就继续的试，直到你很气馁为止。
If you get frustrated, it can block it from working.
因为如果你变得气馁，它也会阻挡你。
So if that happens, put it aside for a while and then come back to it.
如果你变得很挫败，那你就先不要用它。
But this is the third thing you can do to learn about your life plan, is ask your soul to send you a dream about it.
然后过一阵子再去试。但是这是第三个方法，是你可以去得到出生前计划的这个资料。
A fourth thing you can do is a certain type of guided meditation.
还有第四个方法是某种引导式的静心。
Go into meditation and imagine that you are in the room in which you did your pre-birth planning.
你可以静心，然后想象你在这个出生前计划的会议之中。
And imagine that all the most important people from your life are there with you.
然后想象你这辈子所有重要的人都在那个会议中。
So your parents are there.
所以你的父母、
If you have brothers or sisters, they're there.
兄弟姐妹、
Your friends are there.
朋友。
If you have enemies, they are there.
如果你有敌人，他们也在那边。
Teachers, peers at school, employers are also there.
学校的老师啊，还有你的老板啊，等等都在那。
Then pick one person,
然后选一个人，
or maybe several people,
或是选好几个人，
and in your meditation, go up to them
在你的静心中去到他前面，
and say to them,
然后问他：
I have forgotten what you and I planned together before we were born.
我已经忘记我们两个在我出生前所制定的计划，
Would you please remind me?
你可不可以提醒我？
And then just be quiet and wait to see what comes to you.
然后就安静，然后看你得到什么样的讯息。
Now the answer may come in different forms.
那这个讯息可能是透过不同的方式而来，
You might actually hear the answer spoken to you in words,
也许你是听到这个讯息，
but it's actually more likely that the answer will come in one or two other forms.
但是呢，讯息有可能透过另外一两种形式而来。
One is the answer may come to you in the form of a feeling.
其中一种就是感觉。
Remember I said earlier that feelings are the language of the soul.
你记得我刚刚说过，感觉就是灵魂的语言，
So that's one way in which you may get an answer. It may just be a feeling.
所以你可能透过感觉得到这个答案。
It's also possible that the answer may come to you in the form of a visual image, a symbol or a graphic of some kind.
但是这个答案也有可能透过某种形象或是某种象征。
So be open to an answer in any of these forms.
所以你要对这个答案保持开放。
Spoken words,
它也许是语言，
a feeling,
也许是感觉，
or something visual.
或是某种象征、视觉的东西。
So try working with this meditation.
所以你可以试着去运用这个静心。
Another thing you can do to get insight into your life plan
还有另外一个方法，
is numerology.
就是数字学。
I'm not a numerologist,
但是我不是一个数字的专家，数字学专家。
but when I started doing the research for my first book, I did explore some numerology.
但是当我为了第一本书做研究的时候，我有去研究一下数字学。
And it's amazing what numerology can tell you about your life plan.
那数字学可以就是透露一些关于你出生前计划，很不可思议。
You don't have to work with a professional numerologist.
你不需要去找一个专业的数字学专家，
Just get a basic book about numerology.
你可以去找一本关于数字学的书，
and do the basic calculations.
然后去计算这个基本的数字。
For example, you assign numeric values to every letter in your birth name.
比如说呢，有一种方法就是你的那个出生的名字啊，它
And then you add
每一个字母都代表一个号码，
and then you add up all of these values.
然后你把那些号码都加起来，
And then the sum will tell you something about your life plan.
然后那个总和就会透露一些关于你的出生计划的讯息。
I did this myself,
我自己有做，
and I was amazed at both the accuracy and the level of detail that it told me.
那我很惊讶，就是他真的有准确的跟详细的告诉我的出生前的计划。
One more thing you can do to learn about your life plan
还有另外一个方法，
is to work with an astrologer.
就是找一位占星学家。
A good astrologer can tell you a great deal about your life plan.
那一个很好的占星学家呢，可以就是透露你出生前计划。
So there you have a number of avenues to explore,
所以你有好多种方法，
and just choose the ones that most resonate with you.
你就去选一个你感觉最适合的方法。
Other questions?
你好，两个问题哈，一个是如果都是出生前计划好的，为什么会有灵魂选择留恋世间而不回去？然后我再问第二个，可以同时问吗？
This is not my area of expertise,
那其实这不是在我的专业范围内，
but I know a little bit about it.
但是我知道一点点关于这件事情，
As I understand it,
就是以我的理解，
souls who linger on the earth plane and don't go to the light
那些逗留在世界上而不愿意进入光中的灵魂，
do so for several different reasons.
是有几个不同的原因。
Sometimes they die very suddenly in an accident,
有时候他们是就是很突然的因为意外而死去，
and they actually don't know that they're not still in their physical body.
那他们不知道说他们已经死了，
So they're too confused and disoriented to go to the light.
所以他们非常的困惑，所以没有办法進入光中，他不知道他在哪里。
Other times when a soul gets stuck in the astral realm,
那另外的例子是，另外的原因是，
it can be because they have very intense, unresolved negative emotions about something.
有可能是因为他对某件事还有很强烈的负面的情绪，
For example, hatred or anger toward a particular person.
比如说他恨某一个人，或是他对某个人非常的愤怒。
And so that intense negative emotion is almost like a chain that binds them to the earth plane.
那种强烈的负面情绪就像是一个绳索一样，把它还绑在这个物质界。
And then sometimes people don't cross over.
那有时候一些灵魂没有办法去进入光中，
Because they have an unresolved addiction to something like alcohol or even cigarettes.
因为他们有上瘾症，比如说他对酒精上瘾，或是甚至对香烟上瘾，
Or it can be a drug addiction.
或是药物上瘾。
And in these cases, sometimes the person tries to attach themselves to someone who is still in body and has the addiction.
那在这些例子中，有时候这些灵体会去附在那些有这些上瘾症的人身上，
Because then they can continue to feed the addiction through that person.
因为他就可以透过那个人继续的去吸烟或者是吸毒。
There are people who do very specialized work,
那有些人他做专门这方面的工作，
communicating with souls who are stuck in this way,
就是跟这些还没有离开的灵体沟通，
and they assist them to move into the light.
然后帮助他们进入光中。
And that's all that I know about that.
这是我所知道的关于这件事情的一切。
还有第二个问题 题是刚提到自杀的问题，它是人格意识的决定还是灵魂的决定？那如果它是人格意识的决定，我应该怎么说？如果灵魂知道人格意识它需要做这样子的决定，我应该怎么？我应该是说，我们人格意识它不认同灵魂意识的话，那这个自杀是人格意识它所做的决定吗？那如果这样子，在回去的时候，为什么灵魂还要接受这个人格意识的创伤？这样是不是会有永无止境的疗愈？你听得懂我的问题吗？
The way that you're using the word suicide, the answer would be the decision is made by the personality.
那就你所描述自杀的方式而言，那就是答案是对，它是被人格所决定的。
And it is true that the personality would have a lot of healing to do.
人格的确也是会有很多的疗愈要做。
I didn't read this part of the suicide chapter 2 tonight.
那自杀的这一章里有一些东西我今天晚上没有读。
But there's a part of it where we talk with Cameron, the young boy who took his life.
但是有一部分是我们跟那个自杀的儿子卡麦隆的对谈。
And he talked with us about all the healing work he was doing on the other side.
那他也告诉我们，他去到另外一边之后，他所做的疗愈。
But it doesn't go on forever.
但是不是永无止境的。
Sooner or later, the healing is achieved.
那总有一天，这个疗愈就是已经达成。
Now, if we use the word suicide in a broader context,
但是如果我们以更广大的角度来讲自杀，
then every single death is a suicide because it's always a decision made by the soul.
那其实每一个死亡都是自杀，因为它都是灵魂的决定。
So a basic spiritual truth is that every death is a suicide.
所以，如果你从灵性的观点来看，那其实每一个死亡都是自杀。
Because it's always a decision by either the personality or the soul.
因为它都是一种决定，不管是人格面的，还是意识，就是还是灵魂上的。
老师好，我想请教两位老师，就是说，我想我很肯定，就是灵魂意图，它就是了解灵魂意图对生命可能带来的转化。可是我有一个很矛盾的想法，就是说，如果灵魂知道的，就是如果我们在这里知道的太多，那会不会就是好像会减弱了那个挑战带来的成长，就是没有办法真实的去活过每一个机会，这样。谢谢。
I'd like to answer your question with a story.
那我想要用一个故事来回答你的问题。
One of the stories I researched for my first book
那当我写第一本书的時候，我研究了一个个案的例子，
but that I didn't put in the book,
但是我没有把它放到书里面。
is the story of a drunk driving accident.
是关于一个酒醉驾驶的事件。
One man was driving drunk one evening,
有一天有一个人喝醉酒，然后驾驶，
and he hit the car of another man and killed him.
他撞到另外一个人的车，然后对方死掉了。
For a number of years thereafter, he was riddled with guilt and remorse.
所以事发多年之后呢，这个人呢还是有很深的罪恶感。
But eventually he healed.
但是终于他疗愈了。
And then he became a public speaker speaking out against drunk driving.
然后他变成一个公共的演说家，就是演讲叫人们不要去酒醉开车。
This story was shared with me by one of the mediums I was working with.